I'm Jupiter Hadley. I'm here to talk to you about getting your game out there as well as some general tips for, your game, making a game as a player. Yeah. Alright, so first I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I'm a YouTuber, I'm an indie gamer. I tend to just cover indie games. I currently write for Alpha Beta Gamer and Game Jolt, Fireside's Game Jolt, or Game Jolt's Fireside. And I'm also the co-creator of a website called IndieGameJams.com, which is this picture right here. And it basically lists all of the game jams going on both online and locally to you, just in like a calendar format. On YouTube, I tend to record games for both PC as well as Android, and I cover all of the games entered in Game Jam. So if there's a big game jam with like 600 games, I'll do a minute of each game, sort of preview style, so you can get an idea of what the game jam is about and what it is. I've never actually done a speaking thing before, so I'm a little bit nervous, but if you guys have any questions or want me to explain something further, just let me know. But yeah, it's just a bit about getting your game out there. So, game jams are something that I do a lot of. I'm actually co-hosting a game jam that's happening this weekend that's Game Jolt's official game jam. How many of you guys have ever heard of Game Jolt? Yeah, so quite a few of you. So I'm big in Game Jolt, I really like them. Itch.io is really great too. I've just been more involved in Game Jolt. So I'm co-hosting their box art game jam, which is this week, so that's pretty neat. Now, game jams are a really good way to get your game out there. They've already got a following, most game jams, so having that following allows you to already have people that are looking at the games there. And when people are already looking at the games there, it's a good way to boost it because there happens to be a lot of games being made nowadays. And it's really easy to get lost in like the ocean of all of the indie games being made. Game jams specifically, there are quite a few of them going on, as I said. Some of them are more worth doing than other ones, because some of them are quite big. Like the Ludum Dare. Has anyone participated in Ludum Dare?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a huge game jam. And there's like over 2,000 entries. And it's quite easy to get lost in that as well, but from being in it and from making a game for it, you do get views and you do get mentioned places, and if your game does rank highly, they tend to become full games. A game jam most of the time has like a time limit, so it's a bit hard to make a full-out game in a game jam, but you can definitely make demos and then continue it later, or make little mini-games for your game jam that can then be into your game, or use the same graphics in some of them. Sometimes you can even make, like there's a screensaver game jam and a loading screen jam where you can make like little interactive things that then have something to do with your game and advertise your game. So it's a nice way to sort of get your game out there and have more face time for your game. One game a month is another big game jam. If you're working on something and you want to challenge yourself, it's basically a challenge. It's very open, where you can make like a game every month, or make one big game and sort of update it every month. And every month it'll show up on the home page, and every month it'll be there, and you can write like how you've updated and stuff. So if you're looking to make a big game but want it to have some face time on a website that gets traffic, it's a good idea to tie it into that. It has an optional theme that you don't even have to use. Most people don't. So it's a very good way to just get your game out in face value. It's also just kind of fun and challenging to do a game jam. It's a crunch time, most of them. They've got a theme. And it's just a good break that can be if you're working on a big game. It can be a good break to try out one of your little ideas, because a lot of people get like sidetracked developing a game because they come up with new ideas of stuff to do. So it's a way to kind of get that idea out of the way so you can continue to focus. And also, just the more games you make, the more places you are, you're more out there, really. Another thing that you can use for promoting your game is devlogs and like updates. So before you make your game, you might want to decide to do some devlogs. Not only will they help you look back and see how far you've come, they will also help you learn about like how you used to code. I've actually made a couple of little games a while back, and I recorded in GameMaker. I recorded all of the development and put it up on YouTube in a sort of tutorial format. I'm not very good at making games. It wasn't my forte. But it is something that I look back on now and I'm like, oh, why did I do it like that? It wasn't good at all, and I could have made that much cleaner. So looking back on it did end up helping me progress a bit when I did used to make games. You can make devlogs up on Twitch live. You can just draw little bits of your characters, and that can give sort of a behind-the-scenes look on your game, which can draw up some attention for the game to come. If you do start a devlog, or you do start a devlog group, It might not get views at first, but it's something that you definitely have to keep looking at, you have to keep doing. Because as soon as you stop posting stuff, people are going to stop watching because there's nothing there. So you got to be very consistent once you start something like that, and you have to continue doing it and continue posting updates. And that frame of mind of having to continue to post stuff can potentially help you continue making your game, because now you have a deadline, you have people watching you, and you have to get something out. So it's just a very nice way to keep yourself motivated as well. Alright, so we're going to talk about Game Jolt, because as I said, I'm very big in Game Jolt. I was a moderator there for a couple of months, and it got quite busy. And they're currently in a lot of different stages. They're kind of in a beta, but they continue growing and evolving, and they do a lot for indie games in general. They feature tons of games on the homepage of the site, including like special feature games that are quite popular. They do developer interviews. They have an online chat space that they're still kind of developing, where you can go and talk to other developers and other YouTubers like myself. And they have a good follow system, which is really nice. If you have a game out there, even if it's just a demo or just a version of a game, you can put up like little updates or little blurbs basically about what you're planning on doing, and people who follow your game get that emailed to them and also get a notification when they go onto the site. So if you have a game that's in development or you're adding stuff to a game, it's really nice to be able to do that, and it's pretty simple. However, it's only for free games or like demo versions of games. You can't put up a game to pay for yet. They're working on sort of doing something like that with some games, but it's not quite out there yet. There's a few select games that you can end up having to pay for, but most of them are free. They also have a downloadable client that just came out, and it's sort of like a desktop version like Steam that can just stay on your desktop that people can download games into, and they're right there. You mainly get ad revenue from Steam games, or from Game Jolt games on the site. They also have like a way of hashtagging things, or pounding things, the pound sign, things, to give them tags like multiplayer, and like FNF games are a big thing. However, Friday Night at Freddy's are a big thing on Game Jolt. There's like hundreds of them, so there's like tags like that that are featured every day. And just they've got a lot of ways to feature different games, which is really nice. They even have a section of just like newly downloaded games. So I don't know, I really like Game Jolt. And they have high scores and trophies that you can easily integrate with their accounts that they already have made. So they've done a lot of the back end work for that. You can just put them right in your game. There's also Itch.io, which is another really, really great site, which is quite like Game Jolt. It's super easy to use. You can put up games that you can put for sale, or you can have them free, or you can have like an optional donation. So when people click download, it'll say, hey, we suggest you pay $3, or no. You can just click off of it. All of the money goes straight to the developer unless you choose otherwise. They've got like a way that you can sort of choose 10, 20, 30, 40% to go to Itch.io, or you can just drag it to zero and get all the profits yourself, which is a really nice option for a site that you can use for free. They also have their own Itch.io approved press, which is a really cool panel for people like me who are YouTubers who have come to Itch.io or who have been asked by Itch.io to just cover Itch.io games. And basically you can tick a little box on your game when you upload it, and it can be added to this press list, and someone like me can come along and download your game for free and do some sort of article or some sort of video. And then we can, to continue having the press access, we have to post back a link that says we have covered this game, it is up somewhere on the internet, and it's all done, and it's, I didn't just take your game for free. So that's something that you have control of and that people like me can go and use, and I have used it quite a bit because it's a very nice interface, and it's very well designed, and that's for games that you have to pay for or donate for. They also have a downloadable client just like Game Jolt, it's pretty new, and they have a forums. They tend to talk mainly on the forums. There's like tons of different sub-forums and little communities that talk there, although it's still fairly a new feature. So once you have like a website picked out, because I'd prefer a website to view games at as a player because, well, first of all, it's easier to find. I'm already on Itch.io or Game Jolt, and on top of that, it's just, I know what to expect and I know where to find everything. So once you have a game like website picked out to put all your games at, you got to upload a game. And that's quite important. And when you have a big website full of tons of games, you need to make it very appealing for people. So you need to have screenshots and videos and banners and thumbnails and just basically anything you can throw up. It's nice to have like a logo there, links back to devlogs, quotes if you have any, the instructions to how to play your game are very important. Both of those sites allow GIFs as their thumbnails if you're looking for something a little bit more flashy. If you have a game that's like a bullet hell, it's really nice to have like a nice GIF to see kind of one of the level designs. And they're just really nice to look at. I have some examples. Like this is a game that's up on Game Jolt. And it's not really attractive, you know, you look at it and it's just gray. And that's like the default. They added a little bit for their description and that's it. And then you have this game, which has a bit more. It's got like some pictures. It's got a couple of ratings and followers. It's got a bit of a description that tells you how to play and a little bit about the game. And you know, it is kind of appealing. But then you have games like this, which have a massive, because you can pick the size of banner, has a massive eye-catching banner. It's got tons of pictures, quite a few videos. You can scroll over and continue looking at more about it. It's got a game soundtrack that you can just download, plenty about the game, extends. The person's linked up their Twitter and their website on it, so I can easily go and find that if I want to know more about the developer. It just goes right through it. So that's like a really nice game on itch.io. It's got tons of views as well. It's featured on the homepage for a while. And then this is like itch.io's. This is like the standard. You put up your thumbnail picture and they've moved it to your page, and you have a download and a small description. And then this is like they've done the background and some pictures, and they do have quite a bit about it because this was a Ludum Dare game. And then you have something like this, which has a separate, different background that ties into it, and just tons of pictures and a video, and little dogs and donations. And it has a soundtrack as well integrated into it. And they also have this little like community down here, so you can join like a special community dedicated to that game. Quite a few games have that. So yeah, they look very pretty. People tend to see them better. There's also like contacting people. Once you have a game made, you have it up on a website, you need to contact people so that they can play your game, so that your game can have more out there. So there are people like myself, like YouTubers, and people who write articles, and they tend to take some requests of games to play. Not a lot of people play all of the games. Personally, I try to play all of the requests that I get. Smaller YouTubers are probably a better idea if your game's more unknown. You might be able to, but you can't really just go to PewDiePie and be like, oh, can you play my game? He's got a lot of emails and probably doesn't reply to most of them. So you gotta look around and see there's plenty of YouTubers that are looking to play games. There's a whole forum on itch.io that's just tons of YouTubers posting. We're looking for any game really to play. And some people say like RPGs or whatever, so you can find YouTubers that are best for your game. There's also tons of articles, places that write articles that would be good for your game. Take some research and searching around to see who accepts what. But there are quite a few out there. I write for Alpha Beta Gamer, which is a website that does alpha versions, beta versions, demos, just free versions of games, but specifically also does student projects. So if you're a student going to university who makes games, it might be the person to talk to. And they tend to, basically if you get a good word in, they tend to write about everyone, and they get quite a few views per article. It's kind of a bigger site. I don't know if anyone reads Alpha Beta Gamer. Or they also do Free Game Planet is their other one. Both do free games specifically. And they're a pretty cool website. Yeah, they mainly do free games, that's the only thing. But basically, when you go to email these people, you need to include like screenshots and a link to your game, and just kind of make it personal, because I get a lot of emails in daily, and you can tell right off the bat if it's just the, hello person, here's literally everything about my game, it's 4 pages, there's 3 screenshots at the end, email us back for a Steam key. Okay, and it's obviously the same email that's been given out to about 45 other people. Sometimes they forget to even like hide all the other emails, so you can see that it was sent to 250 emails. You're like, oh, okay. So you need to kind of make it personal. When I read an email that's like, hey, I've checked out your channel a little bit, I'm not a long-time fan, but I've checked out your channel a little bit, and you know, you've got some cool stuff, I particularly like your series on this, I have a game, can you play it? I'm more likely to reply to you right away and be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll play your game. If you include a press kit, they're very helpful. I don't know how many of you guys know about like press kit. Yeah, they're pretty neat. They're like a really organized way of having just all of your information, your contact details, your screenshots, your videos, just everything right there, which is really nice to use when you play a game or when you want to get your game out there. If your game does cost money and it's on Steam or itch.io, you should probably provide a key. Don't be like, oh, well, just email me back, and then in 3 days I'll come back with a key, and then, you know, a week later, it's just a bit of a back and forth. At one point I got an email, really recently actually, that said, email this other email to then get a key for my game. Not the email that sent me an email, a different one to deal with that. I was like, okay, this is a bit weird. So you gotta make it easier for people to come back and contact you. You need to pick people that seem like a good fit. If your game is going to be released in like a week, it might be a good idea to contact YouTubers a bit beforehand and see if they can do something alongside the release, because that's something I like doing. And I know quite a few other people like being like the first YouTubers to have your game out there. And you might not want it out way before your game's like out for the public, but it's just better to coordinate it so it's out with the release, which is just a really nice way of doing it. And a really nice way to have a solid date of when you're going to get your video out, because sometimes people email YouTubers and they're like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then like a month later, oh yeah, I got around to it. Sorry. But if you have like a solid date of this is when my game's going to be released, it's just more of something to aim for instead of when we get around to it. I think I'm going through this awfully fast. I'm sorry. Also, just on a side note, contacting people in person's a big deal. It's kind of important. You don't need to get a booth at Res, because I'm going to Res this year, so it's on my mind. You don't have to get a booth at Res to contact people at Res. I was going to Res and I put it up on Twitter. I said, hey guys, I'm going to Res. If anyone's there, come say hi. And someone actually like tweeted at me and they're like, oh, do you want coffee? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll have coffee, sure. And he was like, oh, well, I'm bringing my game with me. And I was like, okay, I've never really heard of you. I've never really heard of your game. I don't really know you, but yeah, sure, I'll take a look at your game. And I showed up at a coffee place and didn't get coffee in the end, but sat down with this game developer and he was like, well, I brought my game here and I'd like you to see it, and it's really nothing. It's one single level with graphics that are placeholders and there's no story in it. It's nothing like the final product, but do you mind giving it a play? I was like, yeah, sure. And he sat there and he talked about his life and I talked about my life, and he talked a bit about this game that he was designing and the storyline to it, and then I played the really quick one level, 30-second, oh, I can jump on a platform, yep, this is pretty default. And, you know, just had some pleasant conversation and then went back to Res. But because of that, like, face-to-face interaction and that, like, little bit of talking about his life, I just know him more. And whenever I see his emails, even though they're about different games and they're about different things, because he hasn't even gotten around to that one, I get a bit excited and I, like, am interested. I'm more interested than someone that I've never met before that's just sending me an email along with a bunch of other people. And it just helps to have friends like that who can go out and who get excited about your game and who can put it in front of other people's faces. I have played quite a few of his games since then, and occasionally he like hits me up on Twitter and is like, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. And it just feels more personal when I play his stuff, and it feels more like more of a priority for me. So even if you're just saying hello and meet who you are talking with, it helps a lot. Yeah, so that's about contacting person. Sorry. I wasn't sure if I did have a slide for that. But yeah, just be confident when you talk to people, because we're all just people, really. And I mean, he didn't even have a demo. He didn't even have like a showcase part of his game. So it's perfectly okay to just be like, hey, come hang out with me. Twitter's also a really good place to show off your game. I don't tend to use Facebook, I only do Twitter. And I find that has more of a community appeal, and you can find more game developers just hanging out around there using hashtags. And hashtags are a big part of Twitter. There's several of them: indie game dev, indie games, game dev. Specifically, there's ones that just happen every week, like Indie Dev Hour, which is Wednesday at 7 to 8 p.m. And that's more of a group discussion as opposed to a hashtag, because the people that are posting with the hashtag also reply to everyone else and go and check it, and they talk, and they have like a question. Normally some of them throw out questions and like almost topics, but you can really do anything there, and it gets quite a bit of support to your game and quite a bit of following to your game, and whatever you're tweeting, even if it's just like a little, here's a work in progress screenshot of a few pretty things, or here's a little bit of code that I've been working on, just stuff like that. It really does bump it up there. Screenshot Saturday is another one, just a screenshot of the game and what you're working on. It happens every Saturday. If you're doing a game jam, the game jam has a lot of tags. If you're doing a game jam, you should probably talk within Twitter and within people to sort of advertise your game just while you're building it, just to be a part of all that. Bots will instantly start picking up your tags and, you know, retweeting it to their followers if they're the same thing, especially if they include pictures or GIFs, which are really easy to put up there. So it's just a nice way of sort of getting your game boosted and your tweet boosted and what you want to say out there. Now, once you have your game out there, you need people to get interested once they play it. And so like the next 2 slides are just kind of a laundry list of little things as a player that I've found annoying or just very difficult for myself. I have a keyboard and a trackpad, and for the longest time I played a lot of my games on YouTube on a trackpad. And I know that's like totally something that no one does, and it's considered like a taboo thing, like, oh, you use a trackpad and you play Team Fortress 2, how can you do that? Well, I did. So what I did for the longest time. And so I preferred to have arrow keys as opposed to WASD so that I could use my trackpad. And I found it weird that a lot of games had WASD, no function for the arrow keys, but it wasn't an option. You still couldn't go and do arrow keys. So just for me, I feel like you should have both, so that people who are very portable and going between America and England way too often to have a computer are able to play games if they're more accessible. Along with that, if you're going to have button 1 being like Z and C, you should also have it being X and V, because there's other European keyboards that aren't QWERTY that you can't really use X and C with. My keyboard's American, so it's a bit off from your guys' keyboard already, but it's not enough to really make a difference. When you go to when you see French keyboards, they have quite a big difference, so it's good to keep in mind that if a lot of people are playing your game, it needs to be accessible to those people. You need to generally just make the controls easy to use and easy to learn, so that people are able to play. If you do have a game and it's controller only, you need to be aware that a lot of people can't play it. I didn't have a controller for the longest time, and I was always like, yep, so I can't play your game because you have no button controls. Or if you have a tutorial in your game and it's just all controller buttons, it gets really, really confusing. Because seeing, press X, nothing's happening when I'm pressing X. Oh wait, it's controller X. And that's something you don't really think about when you're getting into a game. Oh, I have to remember that it's not these controls, it's controller controls. If you have a game where the movement is based on your mouse, you should lock your mouse in the screen, because some people prefer to play games windowed, and when they move their mouse and it goes off screen and clicks on their sidebar or whatever, and your game's now messed up, it's just quite annoying. You should always rename your game files, because I have 6 games currently on my computer all called Windows, or Test Game, which is another fun one. So you just should have your exes labeled and your files in there labeled correctly. You should test your game before you play it. I've downloaded a lot of Game Jam games specifically, and it's been like, oh, your data folder is just a slightly different name than your actual exe. So I know to rename it. Other people might not know to rename it, just to fix that so that it'll work. So that was kind of fun to learn at first, but why are none of these games working? Oh, the data folder's renamed wrong. You should always have your instructions on the web page, even if you have a how to play or whatever in your game, because when I'm scrolling at your web page looking at it, I will read the instructions there more often than I'll read it in your game. And I don't know if that's a personal thing, but I just tend to go, oh wait, play, I can do that now, and just hit play and end up playing. Don't make your games auto-close. I might want to replay it. It's kind of annoying when it automatically X's out and it's like, oh, here's my desktop again. I'll have to go and start that up again. And on the same note, don't make your games auto-start, because sometimes I might want to get a drink first, or look at your beautiful opening page, or click one of the other options there. So it's just kind of a thing that is quite annoying. If you have a local co-op mode, have a choice to have bots, because not everyone is friends who are at their house to play games. Several times I've been like, hey, can you come play with me? I don't have anything to do, and it's one player, and it's odd. So it's just, you need bots, you really do. Also, everyone reads at a different rate. I read very slowly when I'm reading, because I'm a little bit dyslexic, so I read a little bit slower than other people and I get tripped up. So when text just starts going through, and is now moving forward, and there's more, I can't keep up with it, and I give up, and I don't read the beautiful stories that are made there, because I'm just not up to reading that fast. So it's really nice if you can allow players to hit X, and it loads up the line, then hit X when they want the next line, so that they control the level that they're reading at. And at the same time, you should also be able to control sort of intros and be able to skip them. So if I've already played your game twice and I'm starting it from the beginning, I probably don't want to watch the 2-minute intro, maybe. So have the ability to skip that if you have a very long intro. If you have a tutorial button, you should also have a skip too. Some people don't like tutorials, they like getting right into the game. And don't make your intro too long. If you have a 5-minute intro to a 3-minute really game, it's quite unbalanced. They need to be nice proportionally to your game. And if you do make a game, don't just give me a Dropbox link. It should be hosted somewhere. Even if it's a work in progress, GameJolt and Itch.io allow you to bring up new builds. Dropbox links are unreliable. After a while, there'll be a 404 page because you'll forget about it, and then I'll go to play it, and I'll be sad. So you need to make sure your game's up on a page. Plus, it just looks nicer, and you can have pictures up there, and it's a place where more people see it, as opposed to, I've also had Google Drive games. Put your games up on a page. It's just so much easier for everyone. And lastly, give it time. It takes a long time to build a following, and it takes a long time to get your game out there, unless you build something like Flappy Bird or Minecraft that just all of a sudden gets out there for like almost no reason. It's just flipping really popular. It's going to take time, and it's going to take consistency, and that's something you really got to do. You got to continue putting yourself out there and continue posting stuff, and even if it's just little bits of stuff you're working on or projects you never complete, you need to keep yourself out there. You need to keep being involved. And you need to keep showing off your stuff and keep talking in the communities that you've become a part of. And that's just keeping up with it. And it can be good motivation, even if you just talk to people about what they're doing and what they're up to. It really is quite helpful and quite good, and keeps your face on the surface, really. And once you build up a following, it'll all be worth it. You can get a lot of people playing your game. And that's it. That's all I have for you. So, thank you for having me.
You all right for a couple questions?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Does anyone have questions?
Yeah.
So how did you originally get into making YouTube videos, and did it have anything to do with your earlier game dev sort of experimentation?
So do you want the long version or the short version?
The long version.
I feel like I went through a lot of that.
I've got time.
So, as a little 16-year-old, I was big into volunteering at my school, and I volunteered 1,000 hours in a year, and I was like insane. Like all of my spare time went to volunteering. And it was very stressful, it was very hectic, and I ended up high up in sort of a political side of volunteering that I didn't know even existed. And it was really, really stressful. Now, I don't want that anymore. I mean, I'll still volunteer, but I don't want any of this. And all of a sudden, I had all this free time, and I played around a derpy Minecraft server, and I was like, my best friend was like an indie game dev, and he created these awesome little games, and I thought, oh, that's cool, I'll make a game. And he went, you can't make a game. You can't just make a game. He went, I'll make a game. I volunteer 1,000 hours a week, I can make a game. And I tried to make a game, I can't make a game. Learned that very fast. I do not have the patience or the skill to make a good game. I made a couple platformers, it was like, and I was like, all right, I'll record your game, and I'll start Let's Playing. And I started that. Then specifically, I kind of am big in the game jam community. So the Ludum Dare came around, which again has thousands of games, and my friend went, oh, you can pick out your top 10 and make videos of them. Because he always pushed good games at me, really. And I was like, oh yeah, but I need to play them all to know my favorite. And he was like, no, they'll be like favorites, they'll be the ones that are I'm like, yeah, but what about the guy like me who couldn't make a game? The guy who sucked, and his game is 2 platforms and a couple of enemies, and but they're really proud of it, because I was really proud of mine for a long time. I was like, what about them? And I said, what if that's my favorite? What if they have a really good control? And he's like, you can't play them all. You're joking. I was like, I can play them all. I've got plenty of time. I'm in high school. I can play them all. So I couldn't play them all. I played 780 of them though. So that was pretty intense. And I picked out my favorites from there and started writing about them. And then there were more game jams happening, and there were more indie games being created. And occasionally I did Let's Plays, but I mainly did like game jams, because I thought they were so cool. I was like, it's so impossible that you made a game in 48 hours. Like, what did you do with that 48? It was like magic to me. And I ended up entering a game jam that was like a month long. It was a charity game jam, and I made a little game for that. And I was like looking at all the other entries, like, these guys are amazing. I sort of started idolizing the game dev community, and ended up getting more popular, and I started doing single Let's Plays, because I got a lot of requests mainly. People email, can you play my game? Yeah, I can play your game. And then after that, I started writing for a couple of sites here and there. I mainly wrote for my own for a while, and I was picked up by some small sites like Shody Pixel and then Indielicious, which you probably never heard of. Indielicious doesn't even exist anymore. And then I ended up on Alpha Beta Gamer, and that's pretty nice because they're a big site. And yeah, and Game Jolt's Fireside, I was asked to write there because I was a mod there for a while. And you can basically write about whatever you want on Fireside, so it's not too binding. Like Alpha Beta Gamer, they want specific games, but Game Jolt's Fireside, they're just like, write whatever you want, throw anything up there, you get ad revenue, enjoy. So that's a nice place to write for. And I've just kept up with it, really. I've not had much to do. I'm American, and I started moving here about a year ago, a little over a year ago, year and a half ago. And moving here was very hard. It took a lot of time of country swapping. And I can't volunteer here legally, and I couldn't work, well I can now, but I couldn't volunteer here legally, I couldn't work here legally, I couldn't drive here legally, couldn't do much at all. So I was like, oh, just keep playing video games, why not? And I've just kind of kept up with it, and if you continue being consistent, putting stuff out there, after time you build up a following. So yeah, it's a long story. So, there you go.
Good one. Yeah. Cool.
I've got another question. Firstly, it's super cool that you do so many videos. Like you were saying about, there's a little guy out there who's like, oh, no one plays my game, someone does. That's me. I appreciate it. But I guess this is slightly off topic.
That's fine.
So, doing game jams is like really good. Like I love game jams. I do loads of game jams, and a lot of it is visibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to be successful, visibility is a big issue, and like you've made a lot of good points. I guess what I'm asking is, as someone who consumes a lot of output from game jams and plays a lot of games and makes a lot of videos, what kind of do you look for in a little indie game? What interests you? What's like, oh, that game's really cool, I'd like to cover that game.
I get asked that a lot, actually. I get told, you must have insight. And I feel like it's all personal. Like, for me personally, I like really weird graphics, because I see so many games, I like graphics and sprites that I just didn't expect. Like claymation, love claymation. I understand the time put into it because I did claymation for a couple of years in high school, and I just love uniqueness like that, handmade graphics and just styles that you don't see every day. Like you see a lot of Kenny's graphics. I don't know if you use Kenny's graphics, but you see a lot of them everywhere, and it's just nice to see something new like that. Different controls and different spin-offs of things. Like at one point there was a Pong-related jam for the Mini LD. And it was just like new ways to play classic games, or just new features, or really nice graphics. That was a main thing. If I'm just flipping through and looking at thumbnails and the graphics are unique, that's a big eye grabber for me. I'm not a fan of RPGs, so I don't really like RPGs. So I feel like it's very personal to the people playing.
Of course.
But you can always go well with good graphics
Yeah.
and good logos and just well presented. I like stuff that are cleaner looking and done in the jam time. But a lot of times I'll pick out little games that are just have like really cool features in it, something you didn't really expect, like just a new way of doing something, or a new way of seeing something, or just a nice variety of enemies in a small amount of time. There's a lot of factors that I personally like about game jams, and I've got my own personal preferences that have nothing to do with how good a game is. Like I love typing games, so I can type so fast, and I'll play any typing game for ages. I can type like 78 words per minute. And I just love decimating all of the typing games. And so there's games like that I personally like, but I think you never go wrong with like well presented and good graphics in game jams.
Where do you see yourself in like a year or two? Do you want to get an army of like let's players and like play literally every single game jam game?
I didn't see myself this far. I lived in a small town in America where there was no one. Like my whole town was less than 1,000 people, and my whole universe, my whole world was about 20 people that I knew, and that was it. And then I came here, and he was like, oh, I live in a small town. I'm like, okay. No, you don't. It's huge. Everyone here is so crowded. And so I didn't really realize that I was known until I came here, and I went to Res. Someone gave me a press pass and a free pass to Res last year, and I showed up, and I was like, yeah, I'm at Res. And people were like, so are you Jupiter Hadley? And at one point I was in a bar, quite drunk, and sitting there, because you can't drink in America until you're 21. So I'd come here and been able to drink, and got quite drunk. And it was one of the first times I'd been quite drunk. And I was playing his game, and I guess I was trying to feel, and I was like, so do you do game jams? And he was like, so you're Jupiter Hadley, right? And I was like, yes. What is this? So I guess not in 2 years, but my best friend Chris, who I've talked about, I haven't mentioned by name, my best friend Chris, he was the one that got me into this, and he kind of pushes me a bit farther. Like he just tends to push me and have bigger ideas for me than I do, because I didn't really see myself getting this far. So have you heard of Kennyland? Has anyone really heard of Kennyland? Yeah.
The asset stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's the end game, my own place where people can come and make games and do things and play games with me, because I need more friends to play games with me while I'm sitting at home, and to host game jams and to host game conventions and just quite a bigger thing, but who really knows? I mean, I'm gonna have to get like a VR headset by this rate. The roller coaster where I'm living is having VRs hooked up to it all of a sudden, and it's just everything moves so fast. It's just a bit of a keeping up game. I mean, the amount of game jams. I played game jams back when Ludum Dare was like it. Like you played Ludum Dare and you did the global game jam, and that was all there was. And then it exploded. So just kind of go with it. I'm going to continue playing games that get sent to me. I'm going to continue running indiegamejams.com and covering that and just see what opportunities come around. I'm a strong believer in never say no to opportunities. No matter what they are, just put yourself out there and try it. So I hope I get farther, but who knows really, just going with it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how addicted to Stardew Valley are you?
Way beyond 10, I've got no work done for the last week. It's pretty bad. I've got like 37 episodes backlogged. Like I have to upload one a day, they're all an hour long.
The other important question is, who did you marry?
No one yet. No one yet. I've got Harvey on quite a few stars.
Yes, good.
But there's always Sam there, a little bit of a bad boy. I tried to get Sebastian to like me, but he never left his room.
You'll lose your life.
Video games.